Hello, gorgeous, and welcome to the Midlife Realignment. I'm your host, Esther Blum, and I'm here to disrupt the narrative on perimenopause and menopause with humor, nutrition, hormones, and fierce self-advocacy. Together, we'll rewrite your story and the rules because there's a light at the end of the vaginal tunnel. Let's go. Today on the Midlife Realignment podcast, we have one of my earliest mentors in the hormone space, Dr. Carrie Jones. She is not only a dear friend of mine, but a queen badass who is also in perimenopause herself. She has so much experience in the space, and her new book is actually coming out in 2026. Dr. Carrie Jones is an internationally recognized speaker, consultant, author, and educator on the topic of women's health and hormones with over 20 years in the industry. Dubbed the Queen of Hormones, Dr. Jones is a naturopathic physician who did her 2-year residency focused on women's health and endocrinology. She was the first medical director for Precision Analytical, who runs the Dutch test, and the first head of the medical education at Rupa Health. Dr. Jones co-hosted the Root Cause Medicine podcast that has over 10 million downloads and now hosts her own Hello Hormones podcast. I hope you take away so many amazing, magnificent nuggets from the show and just feel seen in perimenopause and beyond. All right, Meno Queen sister, Carrie Jones, welcome to the Midlife Realignment.
I am so excited to be here talking with you. Thank you for having me.
You know, I talked about this in the intro. You were really one of my early hormone mentors. You didn't even know it, but you taught me so much, just your educational videos and the way that you humanize molecular biology and biochemistry is really a complete gift because it helps everyday people understand all the science and the complexity behind perimenopause, menopause, hormones, detoxification. And, you know, I also think the simplest way to get people to understand is to connect to the story. So can you talk, you're so great on your videos about talking about your perimenopause journey, but I would like this audience to know really where you are in your perimenopausal journey, what your symptoms have been, and honestly, how you're mitigating and managing and getting through.
It depends on the day. I'll back up a little bit. So I've been a doctor 20 years, and I remember when I was in my 30s, because I did hormones, that was my primary focus. Even though the Women's Health Initiative came out when I was in medical school and said hormones cause cancer, my mentor was like, I mean, we'll be careful, but we're still going to prescribe. So I prescribed hormones my entire career. I was not one of those people who was afraid of it and who didn't. So I would have these women that were perimenopausal, and they would go, you just wait. You just wait. You're going to turn 45, and this is what's going to happen. You can't sleep and you can't drink wine. And I was like, no, I'll have it figured out by then. Like, that's cute. They were right. And so actually, when I was 44, I think that was the first time I realized for real perimenopause. I had a brilliant idea, and I reached my finger over to my computer screen to open a new page so I could type in my brilliant idea and look it up. And by the time my finger met my keyboard, I couldn't remember what the brilliant idea was. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. What is this? It's perimenopause. And that has continued to happen off and on, where I will go to do something, I will think of something, I will need to create lists of something, and I'll have to pause and think, the heck was I just thought of it 2 seconds ago, and like, poof, it's gone. So that was my first symptom. Then it got into insomnia. So I was waking up at 3 a.m, 4 a.m, which I think is pretty common. And the insomnia does come and go. I've done a lot to mitigate that, which we can, especially with progesterone and the changes I made with my progesterone. And then it got like itchy ears. And then I had OBGYN friend, Dr. Lakeisha McMillan, say, have you had phantom smells yet? I said, no, what's a phantom smell? And then, like 3 months later, I had a phantom smell. I had sewer smell, and I kept telling my husband to sniff harder because he couldn't smell anything. And then I realized it was a phantom smell. And now my most recent symptom that comes and goes are ocular migraines. And I am a migraine girly. I've had menstrual migraines off and on since about 30 years old, and they were pretty well under control. And then I got an ocular. And for those who don't know, an ocular migraine is where you lose part of your vision in one of your eyes. And it lasts for about 5 to 10, 15 minutes. And then generally pain comes. I don't always get the pain, or the pain will be pretty low grade on one side of my head. But, and then the vision comes back, thank goodness. So I was like, son of a, and then I went to see my doctor, who was like, sounds like hormones. Like, I know. So I can laugh about it, but I've done a lot. I've been in this field a long time. So diet and exercise and my attempt at stress management. I am on progesterone. I take 100 to 200 milligrams slow release. It is compounded without the peanut oil or the food dyes. I take a lot of supplements. I journal every morning. I'm very aware, so I work really hard to take care of myself. And even still, stuff comes up, but I do my best.
What do you think are some of the pieces that have helped you manage your ocular migraines?
So I put on, I was getting them, I've had about 5. I did not have one. I haven't had one since October 9th. I'm obviously tracking them. And so it's been almost 2 months. I was always on my cycle. So I was always low hormone at the time, days 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there on my period. And then I thought blood sugar played a role. So I put a continuous glucose monitor on me. And sure enough, if my blood sugar would drop really low, if I had back to back meetings, and even though I don't like to skip breakfast, if I started bright and early and I thought, oh, I'll have a little gap, I will quick make breakfast, and the gap got taken because the meeting ran long or the training ran long, all of a sudden I would find myself at lunch. I could feel my blood sugar struggling, and I could tell. If for anyone who's ever had migraines before, if you can feel them coming on, I could feel it in my eye. When you have an ocular migraine, you are very aware of your vision and your eyes moving forward, and I could feel it coming. So I know blood sugar played a role. So those were the two things: one, hormonal, and 2, being mindful of my blood sugar when I am in the follicular phase.
Mm-hmm. And do you use those ice caps? I've seen ice caps.
I have one, yeah. Oddly enough, my menstrual migraines are quite painful. Mm-hmm. My ocular migraines are not. They're very low level pain that I can often manage with, magnesium oil, something like Tiger Balm, menthol type lotion rubbed in, lots of water with electrolytes. And I don't, but which is not that common. Most people get the ocular migraine and it turns into a full-blown migraine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember at the end of my perimenopause, I started the last, I would say 4 months prior, I was getting regular migraines, and just, I don't know if it was dehydration, inflammation, it was probably connected to my adenomyosis. But I had one on my birthday and spent my birthday vomiting. That was great. From, trying different medications, and and then you get like the day or two hangover after. But what I have seen in my clients too is and since I've had my hysterectomy, no migraines at all, just poof, gone.
Yay.
So yay. But what I've seen in my clients, and I don't know if you've seen this too, is like when you get the proper dosing and ratios of your hormones, especially testosterone relative to estrogen, that seems to also beautifully balance out the incidences and the frequency of the migraines. And in some cases, it really makes them quiet. But I've also seen thyroid support help with migraine control. Have you seen anything around that?
I haven't seen, especially for the number of people I know on thyroid and who still get migraines. But thyroid is, to my knowledge, not a trigger for mine, whether it's menstrual or ocular. Yeah. With menstrual, of course, hormonal plays a big role. And then, which upsets serotonin. With my menstrual migraines, it's the trigeminal nerve. Obviously, with ocular, it's the ocular nerve. And so... but serotonin, the changing in serotonin and the changing in the spasm the opening and closing of the little capillaries in there and shifting of blood flow and inflammatory cytokines and whatnot. And so I try to be, I try to be like, get in front of it, but it's also hard to be in the field. And I know physiologically what's happening. So I'm like laying in bed in pain, like, I know what's happening. I need you to stop, but I do even support serotonin going in. I take, 5-HTP a couple days before my period starts, 1 for mood, 2 to mitigate migraines, which honestly really seems to help along with the progesterone. My estrogen historically has been quite high. I have a robust level of estrogen, and even still on all sorts of and I know it can swing up and down, don't get me wrong, but even when I do the everyday testing, like with Mira, I make a lot of estrogen. So, but when I swing wildly, when I'm up one day and down the next, my head gets mad.
Yeah, I bet. So Nicole Jardim was on the pod talking about Mira, but we didn't really unpack it much. Can you kind of explain what it is and how it works and how people can access it? Because I think it's such a cool way to put your hormone levels into your own hands. It's pretty amazing.
Oh my gosh. I learned about it, I want to say last year, maybe earlier this year. And it was fertility. My fertility friends were like, oh my gosh, we're using this at-home test called Mira. And when I looked into it, I thought fertility, I mean, sure, but gosh, the perimenopausal women would love this. So I actually bought one, and because I wanted to test myself. I wanted to know. So basically, it's an at-home test you have full control over. It looks like a little pregnancy test that you pee in a little cup, dip it into the little your urine, dip the stick into the little cup of urine. It comes with everything for about 20 seconds, and then you plug it into a little egg-shaped machine. That takes about 20 minutes to read it, and then it gets sent to the app on your phone, or you can read it right off the machine. And it tests the metabolite of estrogen, progesterone, and then LH and FSH. So, of course, it makes sense it was fertility, but these hormones also go haywire in perimenopause. And so it was really nice to see. I describe it as the forest instead of a tree, meaning like I could see my entire cycle. I could see it day to day, so tree to tree, or I could step back and see the entire month of November, or the entire month of October, and where I'm at. And so on short cycles, long cycles, delayed ovulation, no ovulation, I could see all that. And it really, really helped, especially if I was feeling symptomatic, if I felt like again, preventing migraines, what was my estrogen doing? Did I ovulate? Do I need 100 or 200 milligrams of progesterone this month? That was really great feedback for me to play with it like that, and this is different, of course, than going and get a blood draw. Or going, a one-day test is just one day in that moment, and it doesn't tell you about later in the day, yesterday, or tomorrow. And so there's a time and a place for that testing too, of course. But that everyday test, man, I've had so many women go, oh, it's answered so many of my questions. Like, why do I suddenly have flashes? Why am I suddenly not sleeping? Why am I suddenly moody? Why am I having, oh, there it is, because I'm not making hormones today. Or why am I rageful? Oh, there it is. My hormone, like my estrogen shot through the roof. Got it. Okay. And so at least they can get that immediate feedback and take action.
And so what have been your actionable steps? Like when you look at it, what do you personally adjust in your routine, or what have your friends adjusted in their routines?
So the last full month that I did, I'm actually waiting on more ones to come in the mail. But the last full month that I did, I wanted to, I'm just tracking, like I still get regular cycles. So what are they doing? So I ovulated, I had an LH surge, and then my progesterone was low, and then it was low, and it was low, and it was low. And I thought, oh my gosh, it must be a fake out month. I had a surge, but no actual progesterone, either no egg release or the formation of the corpus luteum didn't happen, which is the structure that makes the progesterone. So I'm like, I'm not making any progesterone. This is wild. And then all of a sudden on day 20, like straight up, like this line just went bink. I was like, oh, there's my progesterone. And I wasn't taking progesterone. I was honestly raw dogging it, as the kids say. I was not taking any progesterone because I wanted to see, am I still capable? Am I still making it? What happens? And it was such great feedback to go, I have this long delay, then it shoots up, then it drops down, it crashed down. And that was it. That's all the progesterone I got. So I was so grateful that I'm on progesterone because I kept taking, I was like, okay, we're going to just take it and be consistent until I get my period. And I wanted that information because sometimes people go, well, I went to the lab and I got my progesterone drawn and it's a healthy, robust number. And I'm like, you may only literally be robust that one day or 2 days. But because it's just a 1-day test, I don't know about yesterday and I don't know about tomorrow. So for me, it was really great feedback of, okay, the next month, what I'm going to do is I will do 100 milligrams for a couple days, 200 milligrams for a couple days, back down. So I sort of mimicked what I would want my progesterone to do and gave me the feedback of like, well, that's why you have PMS and that's why your periods have been heavier. And that's why it's like, I only got this one shot over 24 hours of progesterone.
So when did you first bring in progesterone? What was the moment where it just clicked for you, where you were like, oh shit, it's time?
I probably brought it in, I want to say probably in that 44 years old age. And I wasn't very consistent with it because even today, like I said, even today I still ovulate. I make some progesterone. So I will, in the early years, 44, 45, 46, I would forget. Or I'd take it some months, but not other months because I would still mostly make progesterone. But I know I slept better in the luteal phase if I took 100 milligrams of progesterone. Then I went through a phase where I wasn't making that much progesterone at all, and I wasn't really sleeping. So then I was playing around with dosing. That's when I moved to the slow release. I even went up to 300 milligrams at one point, but that was and progesterone can mess with blood sugar. It can make you a little more insulin resistant, and I was definitely noticing that. I just felt puffier. I felt like my blood sugars were getting higher on a glucose read. So now I am consistent luteal phase. And like I said, I have 100 milligram capsules, slow release, and I will tend to do 100 for a couple days, 200 for a couple days, and then back down to 100.
And for those of you who don't know what luteal phase is, it's the last 2 weeks of your cycle.
In theory, it's the last 2 weeks of your cycle. My last cycle was 39 days, so my luteal phase was actually quite long. I ovulated early, but then it kept going, it kept going, it kept going. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yes. And so is that typical for you? Has that happened before?
No, I'm a 20. For years, this is why it's so important to track.
Right.
For years, I was a 28-day girl, and I track in my little app, my period tracker app. And then I want to say somewhere in my mid-40s, because I'm 48 and a half, somewhere in my mid-40s, I was reading, your period tracker app will give you an average of like, on average, you're a 28-day girl. Nope, mine said 26 days. And I thought, where did I lose 2 days? Somewhere in those years, I lost 2 days. And now I've moved into alternating in the 20s and in the late 30s.
So is there any reason why you wouldn't bring in progesterone now all month long if you're really into perimenopause now?
There's no, I definitely could do it consistently and not follow the luteal phase.
Yes,
I just haven't.
Yes, go get it. I'm like, just go. It's your time.
I know. I still like the idea. There's the whole concept out there of physiologic dosing, which I'm not on estrogen or testosterone or anything, but I do like the idea. Progesterone pulses high in the luteal phase, the second half. And it's non-existent in the follicular. So I still like the idea of in and out, like sort of a little bit following my own cycle. But it is also totally reasonable to start it every day about my period.
Yes. Now, I'm going to bring up a controversial subject. It's not controversial for anything you said. I have seen 1 or 2 physicians who are emphatic about hormone cycling post-menopause. And I wanted to get your hot take on that because I know my hot take, but I want to hear yours. And you can let it rip. This is not let it rip.
Let it rip. I'll be honest. So again, that like physiologic hormone cycling, even postmenopausal, so it will bring on a bleed. I know some people who are doing it and they feel amazing. They feel 10 out of 10. They're doing it well. They're doing it right. They're being monitored. And you know what? I'm like, great. That works fantastic for you. I'm here for it. I know other people who hated it, had horrible side effects, bled heavy, gained weight, et cetera, didn't work for them. They're much better as a static doser, which basically is like put on the patch, use the progesterone, maybe take a break here and there. So I never have prescribed the physiologic. I have never prescribed full-blown postmenopausal cycling of hormones. The concept behind it, as I understand it, is that you're just still mimicking, you're still mimicking the period you had, I mean, the cycle you had. So you're still getting the rise and fall of estrogen to bring out the receptors in the bones, in the brain, and all places of the body. And the rise of the estrogen pushes out the progesterone receptors in places such as the bones, the uterus. And so by continuing to mimic that, it's going to reduce the risk even further, according to, what they have on osteoporosis and all these other things. I was never taught that way. I've never done it myself. I'm not yet on estrogen. Like I said, I find pros and cons. I find women who feel great and women who hate it. Yeah. And the same goes for static, though. I have women that go on whatever everyday dose, and they're like, this isn't working. I still don't like it. I thought this would solve all my problems. And I think it's just really important to understand the nuance and how individual it is. If you go on it and you hate it, it doesn't mean you can't do hormones. It just is that way, that route, that dose. There's so many options, and that's what I tell women. So I'm not opposed to physiologic dosing, but I wouldn't just be all willy-nilly with it, And I think some practitioners, unless you're really trained up and know what you're doing, you could hurt someone. But I feel that way about pellets. People ask me about pellets, and I'm like, man, my pellet friends who are highly trained, who've been doing it a long time, they nail it. They knock it out of the park. Their patients are happy. If you're just doing it because there's big money behind it, you have no idea what you're doing, you're going to hurt somebody.
Amen. Well, yeah. And with the physiologic dose too, what woman wants to keep bleeding past menopause? The biggest joy I have was I made a video of the day before my hysterectomy of me throwing my tampons in the air and spinning around, have them raining down all over my front lawn. Let's get this shit done. I want freedom. I don't want a period in 55 and over. I don't want to bleed anymore. That is miserable, especially if your bleeding is accompanied by cramps and clots. Forget about it. But also, how much research even is there? It's it feels like voodoo medicine to me, as much as, for a lot of women are like, hormones are voodoo medicine. I'm like, oh yeah, wait until you see this, because the science just doesn't seem to be there. I think it's a lot of theoretical. Tell me if I'm wrong, please. But just seems like it's a lot of theoretical, and more is better. And why are we on a physiological dose? Is technically a much higher dose than what would be HRT, which is that's like a microdose. It's so gentle and low.
Right.
So that's
and I don't know. Like I said, I haven't looked into the research on it. I don't do it myself.
Yeah.
I know some people who were doing it that route and love it, and I'm like, good for you, good on you. You keep buying tampons and whatever, but
yeah. And same thing with the pellets. I have had clients with miserable experiences where they gain 10 pounds overnight. They have this crazy hypersexual drive. They lose hair on their head, but get hair on their face. What a nightmare. Right. And they have to just sit and wait until it floats out. But so I'm like, but at the same time, topical hormones, topical estrogen and oral progesterone and topical testosterone, they don't always absorb well, or some people have side effects. In those cases, I've seen a lot of people move to injections and tolerate those beautifully. And it's a shorter half-life. It's a week, and it flushes out your system, so you can adjust your dose easily. So it's you don't even need, it's so rare that people need the pellet. So really a last resource, what's the word I'm looking for?
Some women though, because once it's in, if it works well, then it's in, right? You don't worry about it for 3-4 months. Again, like I said, my friends who are highly trained doing it for years, they usually start people other routes, topical, oral, progesterone, injections, whatever, low key stuff, get people used to hormones. And then eventually, I had an old neighbor who was like, I was so dang tired of applying that stupid cream every day. Yeah. Been doing it for years. I got a pellet and I love it. She's like, they put it in every 3 months. It's like a battery pack and I power up. But she'd been doing it. You know, she wasn't new. She wasn't, it wasn't her first foray into hormones. She was like, I've been doing this for a decade. Like, let me move on. What else can I do? So she was a perfect candidate for the pellet, went to somebody experienced, got her battery pack. But you're right. When I was in full practice, I called them pellet fallout patients. They would go in, they'd get pushed into the pellet, and then same exact symptoms. They're like, I hate it. I'm angry. I'm rageful. I'm losing hair. I'm breaking out. What do I do? And I was like, well, we manage the side effects and we wait for it to wear out. Like, there's nothing I can do. It's in your system.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's rough. So again, it's personalized. There's a lot of options out there, pros and cons to every single option. But yeah, we start with the basic. We start with
the basic.
Start with basic. You've never done this before. You don't know what you're doing. Dip your toe in. Don't jump into the deep end.
Amen. Are you tired of menopause making you its bitch? Sleepless nights, raging hormones, that stubborn menopause, and a libido that's gone MIA. You're not alone, and you are done suffering in silence. Hi, I'm Esther, integrative dietitian, hormone whisperer, and menopause survivor. With 30 years helping thousands escape hormone hell, I've created my elite program, your gaslight-free roadmap to midlife power. Get personalized hormone tests, gut healing protocols, custom supplements, and coaching with me. Reset your sleep, banish bloating, crush workouts, and reignite that sexy spark, all in a badass community of women like you. Visit estherblum.com/elite to learn more. So something that really one of the early concepts and foundations of hormones that you taught me was the importance of methylation and detoxification in the liver. So can you talk about why we need it, why it's important, and just real life, everyday practical things we can do to support our hormones moving through? Because whether we're on hormones or whether we're in perimenopause or not, we do need our hormones to move through and be excreted from the body. So can you talk a bit about that?
Everything. We need everything. We detoxify 24/7, 365, right? It doesn't matter that it's Christmas, Hanukkah, Sunday, your birthday, national holiday, doesn't matter. Like, you still detox. And you detox everything that comes in your body. Anything you eat, breathe, drink, swallow, make, goes through the liver to be filtered appropriately. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol included, all of those go through. But estrogen in particular goes through a couple-step process, and we want those steps, that process, to be like, well, I use the bathtub analogy. Like, when you take a bath, you fill it up. You've got your drain, you've got your sewer line. After you're done with your bath, you want to pop your drain and everything flow down. Because if it doesn't, it overflows and ruins your bathroom. It's the same thing in your body. If your liver is backed up, if your intestines are not doing well, you have kidney problems, then it's going to back up, overflow, and cause problems with the body. So estrogen goes through phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 detoxification. So phase 1 is called hydroxylation. It's these big words, but essentially it goes through, that's in the liver, predominantly in the liver. And the required nutrient for that whole phase to happen is iron. So for women who are listening, who are low in iron, iron deficient, iron anemic, they're going to struggle with their phase 1. And in phase 1, we have a couple of pathways we can go down, and they're numbered. One pathway is the 2 pathway. We have a 4 pathway and a 16 pathway. Well, the 2 and the 4 pathway keep going, and they go through phase 2, which is called conjugation. And conjugation also has a bunch of options. We can go through methylation, as you mentioned, sulfation, and glucuronidation, which I know sounds completely crazy and takes you back to chemistry. But the really, really, really important nutrient there at the end of the day is magnesium. Like, magnesium helps support a lot of those pathways. It's the nutrient required for some of those pathways. A food, because some people go, well, I'd like to do it from a food perspective. I take magnesium. Is there anything I can add to my diet? Broccoli sprouts. not only broccoli, but broccoli sprouts. So when you chew or chop broccoli sprouts, it creates this nifty little chemical molecule called sulforaphane. And sulforaphane is a door opener. It's a drain opener. And it opens multiple drains of multiple bathtubs in your body, meaning it helps with detoxification. And so right away, when I, like, detox can sound overwhelming and confusing. It's these big words. And then I'm like, make sure you're not anemic. Make sure you get some magnesium in. If you're a green thumb, grow yourself some broccoli sprouts. Get that sulforaphane. And then, as I said, the sewer line is literally the sewer line. Are you hydrated? How are your kidneys? How are your intestines? Are you pooping every day? Do you have regular bowel movements? What's going on there? Do you need some prebiotics, some probiotics, some fiber, some digestive enzymes, maybe some lemon water, bile support? And right away, you're like, oh, this is easy. I can implement it. Or some of these I already do. I already do lemon water. I already do have magnesium that I take at night. I already do make sure I have a history of low iron, so I make sure I keep up on my iron, and I eat iron-rich foods. So detox, we are supporting in a great way every day. But it's not just a weekend thing. It's not just a 5-day cleanse. It's not just a juice cleanse. Like, this is something just through easy diet lifestyle stuff we can support every single day.
Mm-hmm. What about low ferritin? Because I have so many clients with low ferritin, and we supplement, and they're eating red meat, and the needle, it's very, very slow to move, if at all.
This is where it gets tricky. So for some people, so let me back up. Low ferritin. Ferritin is an iron storage marker. And it tends to go down first when somebody's losing or not getting in or not absorbing their iron. And the range is huge. It's like, it used to be 15 to 200. So your ferritin could be 18, and they would say, you're fine. Or your ferritin could be 198, and they would go, you're fine. And you're like, excuse me, 198 and 18 are not the same. Well, a couple years ago, they actually had a group that came together and said, you know what, 15 seems really low. We should probably move it up to 45. So now, even though the labs haven't caught up now, general recommendations is the ferritin should be at least 45, which means a lot of people are suddenly low ferritin because they were down below 45 for a long time. Now, the body, if you lose iron, you don't eat iron, you don't absorb iron, then we have an issue. So if your periods are super heavy, if you have bleeding hemorrhoids, if you have ulcers, if you don't eat meat, you don't eat iron-rich foods, if you have H. pylori, if you have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, if you're just not undiagnosed celiac, you're just not absorbing very well, you're not going to get that iron in. But let's say you're like, no, it's none of those things. One of the things that can happen is that to utilize iron, we have to switch it from iron 2+ to 3+, which requires a pretty healthy system, pretty good levels of ATP, which is energy in the body, to make that happen. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't feel that healthy, and they feel kind of inflamed. And especially going through perimenopause, all the shift in hormones can make them feel pretty inflamed. If you have any infections, then the body will do what we call sequester the iron. It will hide the iron so that the little naughty little viruses or bacteria or microbes can't use iron for their benefit. And so you can develop something called anemia of chronic disease, or we'll just see it with with inflammation, even low grade inflammation, infection. So there are a lot of reasons that your ferritin may not be optimal. In an acute infection, your ferritin will go up. It's an acute phase red flag signaler to us. But over time, the body may go, we're going to hide this iron. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
You can't have it. You can't have my iron.
You can't have my iron. No iron for you.
No iron for you.
No.
Which is a really good feedback to, for providers to go, got to address these underlying issues.
And also thyroid function, and both ferritin and thyroid function are closely connected. And both ferritin and thyroid function are closely connected to healing the gut and getting rid of those chronic stealth infections, H. pylori, bacterial overgrowth, candida, SIBO. All of those can wreak havoc on the gut wall. And when we do fix the absorption, we clear out and do a weed and a reseed. We do a kill phase. We kill off those microbes that should have never been there, because perhaps your stomach acid is low. So that low stomach acid is a low firewall. So bacterial overgrowth can come right in quite easily. So killing off the bacterial overgrowth and getting your digestive fire back, like you mentioned, digestive enzymes with hydrochloric acid, that can create a natural firewall again, so you don't get that bacterial overgrowth, and then you can start digesting and absorbing your nutrients anyway. So it's a really big overlooked piece of that. Now, I was listening to you teach. I love listening to you teach at A4M a few months ago in Boston, and you were really talking about ways to build a beautiful gut diverse microbiome. And you were talking a lot about jicama. Can you add some things, just some simple real life? I know I think of you every time I hear jicama. I haven't gone and eaten it at Whole Foods because I don't really see it out. I've probably got to look in a different section. But can you talk about, the foods that you personally rely on for pre-fibrous, prebiotic fibers and fibrous foods?
So jicama was introduced to me years ago because it contains a lot of inulin, which is a fiber that's really good for the GI tract. And what's great about jicama, it's this ugly brown ball of a tuber. You would think nothing of it. You're like, I'm not eating that. But what you do is you cut off the outside, cut off the brown outside, and it looks like a white potato on the inside, but it tastes kind of a little bit sweet and it's crunchy. So it's fun to chop up, a little olive oil, a little crunchy sea salt on top, and all of a sudden you have a really great fiber snack. That's also good if you like to reach for chips or pretzels. Like you can reach for jicama. So when jicama is in season, I'm a big buyer of jicama to chop it up. I do obviously a lot of vegetables, a lot of dark leafy greens. I actually have even inulin powder that I can mix into smoothies so I can get extra of that prebiotic resistant starchy type fiber. I do ground flax seeds also, and in things that has to be ground. A lot of people don't realize just plain old regular flax seeds won't get digested. You've got to make sure they're ground up. So I do that as part of my fiber. I do a lot of, I love kimchi and sauerkraut. Kimchi is probably my absolute favorite though. Every time we go get Korean food, I'm always like, can I have more kimchi, please?
Yes.
Can I have extra kimchi? And so I really try to throw in diversity. I was reading a paper that talked about, of course, how as women go through perimenopause and their estrogen and progesterone declines, we lose the diversity in our entire GI tract. That's from our mouth all the way down to the other end. Well, the GI tract likes diversity. And what in the paper was saying, people aren't diverse to begin with. We eat the same thing on Monday, we eat the same thing on Tuesday, we eat the same thing on Wednesday. We go to our favorite Thai restaurant, we order the same thing, right? Everything's same. We have the same snack bars, the same. And so what happens is our microbiome gets very changed and it doesn't, like there's no like, woohoo, there's like no new fun thing. And so it was suggesting as part of the perimenopausal transition and doing like fiber and prebiotics and resistant starches. And if you're going to do hormones, change it up. Order something new. Try a new vegetable that's in season. Try a new fruit that's in season. You know, if you only eat chicken, try something else. Try turkey. Try buffalo. Try bison. Try beef. Try fish. Try something. And I found that really, really fascinating because it's so true. The more people I talk to about this, they're like, dang, you're right. Unless I'm traveling, I do eat the same thing every day. And even then when I travel, I pack the same dang snacks because I can get enough protein and stuff in case, on the plane or in hotel rooms. Yeah. And so even myself, I have to remember, go out and try new things. Be diverse here and there. I'm not saying every day, but like change it up.
Especially with breakfast, like people eat eggs every single day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you will develop a sensitivity over time. So yeah, just try even switching up, from pea protein powder to whey protein powder if you tolerate, or cottage cheese one day if you tolerate dairy, or some smoked salmon, or just like don't have eggs every day. Same thing. Try to just vary it up. Sometimes I vary it up and have it with breakfast, with lunch or dinner instead of breakfast. But I make sure not to eat eggs every day because I found I got really sensitive and inflamed to them over a while. But the other interesting thing I remember you talking about in the conference was GI motility too. So a lot of us are really constipated in perimenopause because that drop in progesterone really leads to a drop in motility. And so when you were talking about taking 5-HTP for sleep and making serotonin, that can also be a motility agent. Do you want to talk a little more
It
about
can
that?
support, and it's actually estrogen more, because what happens is progesterone is antispasmodic and it slows things down. So people will start their progesterone capsules for sleep, and then they'll go, "Ugh, but then I get heartburn, or then I get constipation. I used to go in the morning when I woke up, and now I'm not anymore because of progesterone's ability to slow things down. And whereas estrogen can really help, counter that and move things. Again, it's relative balance to each other of keeping our digestive tract moving forward, the migrating motor complex that pushes everything forward. So this is where things like chewing, I mean, I know it sounds goofy, but like chewing your food and giving your body time, not snacking all day long, like giving your body space so that migrating motor complex can actually push things through. Even making sure you have enough minerals. Like, do you have enough magnesium, which is really important. It'll help in a different way, but it'll help with having bowel movements. Again, we're back to the prebiotics, the probiotics. The postbiotics, which are your short chain fatty acids, they feed the large intestinal cells, really good for lowering inflammation. So these are things like Akkermansia, pasteurized Akkermansia, urolithin A, butyrate. So, and the words may sound a little crazy, but you'll start to notice them being talked about on social media. And those are like 3 things that help feed the large intestine. Live Akkermansia actually helps with the mucin layer. So we actually in our small intestines, we have this, it sounds gross, it's like a snotty layer. It's a thick mucousy type layer. And what it's meant to trap, right? It's meant to trap things so that it can't cross through to the other side and have to interact with our bloodstream and our immune system. So we have this snotty layer that does a lot of good for us. And as we get older, it gets thinner, and we have to have a particular bacteria whose job is to like eat it up and make sure the turnover is good. It's called Akkermansia when it's alive. So you will also see products that are live Akkermansia that support that muciny, snotty layer to help, because we don't want that to thin either as we get older. That'll allow things to reach the wall and then like boop, cross through, and then our immune system gets pissed. So we have a lot of options, and we can get Akkermansia, we can improve Akkermansia even through things like pomegranate. So when it's pomegranate season, get your pomegranate.
Yeah.
Eat your pomegranate seeds. Do a little bit of palm juice for sure. Like get your Akkermansia up.
Yeah. Tart cherries or cherry juice, unsweetened cherry juice. Blueberries that also really helps with getting your Akkermansia up. It's interesting. I'm curious if you've seen, I've had a couple of clients that have tried supplementing with the Akkermansia, but I found they had to go so high above the recommended dose. I feel like just even eating, or we've supplemented people with red powders also to get their Akkermansia up. But I found just the biggest benefit in raising Akkermansia, which, by the way, for those of you who are like, why are you even talking about this? It's because it helps regulate blood sugar. And often people who are obese are very low in Akkermansia. That's why you see Halle Berry touting it, because she is diabetic. So she has made the gut connection where it helps keep her blood sugar regulated. But I have found, just again, cleaning up the whole microbiome with probiotic foods, with killing bacterial overgrowth, with fiber, so that your fiber acts as fuel to feed the microbiome. That I have found works better overall than just taking an Akkermansia supplement. So the message is, you can take it as an adjunct to help, but also do all the other things. And the fiber, the diversity of your produce, especially, like, there aren't that many animals on the planet to eat, right? It's red meat, it's poultry, eggs, dairy for protein. But veggies and fruits, oh my gosh, there's so much variety, and so many. And same thing, we tend to eat berries all the time, which we used to only be able to eat berries, for the month of I think it was July or August.
I was like July and August. Yeah,
that
the
was
blueberries
it.
come out in July, and blackberries in
Right?
August.
And I would sit in my grandparents had a 25-acre farm, and I knew exactly what was in season in the summer because once it was out of season, my grandmother would can it. She would can green beans, and snap peas. She would can, or by canning I mean jar, currants and berries, and pull them out over the winter as needed. So we are eating foods that are technically not in season anymore all year round. So that's why farmers markets are great, because you really do see what is in season.
And even if it looks weird or sounds weird or you've no idea how to cook it, all you have to do is ask. That's the great thing. It's like jicama. I had no idea what to do with a jicama. I had to ask, what do I do with this jicama? They were like, oh, you cut the outside off. And then chop it up like into sticks. I was like, oh, I can do that.
Right? Or hearts of palm. What do I do with a can of hearts of palm? Well, you chop it up and put it in your salads. Or
stir fries.
What do I do with pineapple? How do I know when it's ripe? Well, you smell the bottom and you look at the outside turn kind of orange and less green, yellow and less green, and then you cut off the outside. There's a really cool store in Sarasota called Detweiler's, and they'll just core. You just put in the whole pineapple, and they just core the whole thing for you into rings. And I'm like, this is awesome. So
less messy.
So less messy. It's an Amish market. So, you can do all of these cool things to really fortify your gut and then absorb your nutrients, absorb your ferritin, and then detox your estrogens, because estrogen detox phase 3 happens in the gut. You've got to poop it out. You can't just sit there. You've got to pee it out. You can sweat it out. So
not estrogen, but you can sweat. Sweating and breathing are two other big forms of detoxification.
Yes.
Unfortunately, not estrogen. You can't do breath work exercises and get estrogen out.
Correct.
But you can urinate it out and you can poop it out.
Yes. But you can get all your toxic thoughts out doing deep breathing. So
you totally can get your toxic thoughts out doing deep breathing. Yes.
So you keep it so real with people pissing you off or things that are pissing you off in midlife, in perimenopause, and just irritating you. So what are just woman to woman, human to human, what are the things that you do? What are kind of your core anchors that you do on the daily to just stay in your zone of genius and clear out the irritability and, just steering clear of asshats? What are we doing here?
I definitely don't have a mouth filter anymore. I used to watch my mom, when I was younger, and I was like, oh my gosh, she has no mouth filter. What the heck? And now that I'm in my late 40s, I'm like, there it is. No mouth filter. It's the same. But what my core things that I focus on, I'm a big writer. I love to write, always have. So I journal pretty much every single morning. I get up and spend about 30 minutes with my warm drink and my PEMF mat and my journal. And I, even when I travel, I take it when I travel. And then at night I want a wind down routine. I drink sleepy time tea or holy basil tea or something. I'm an instrumental music type of girl, so I usually have instrumental music playing. I read a book. I prefer reading real books as opposed to Kindle, but I do have a Kindle Paperwhite. And then, relaxing, and then sleep. Prioritizing sleep is so important because it only takes one night, and then it could ruin, the whole rest of the week, unfortunately. And then I am really, really lucky. I call it vitamin C. It's your community. I have much like you as part of my community, I just have a great group of men and women, including my husband and family and friends, that I just love and rely on. And I still have a 16-year-old sense of humor, so everything's funny to me at over 50, and I'm glad that has maintained. And so it's a lot of just fun and funny and community, and I think that's really, really important as we get older. I've noticed a lot of women, and sometimes myself included, with the hormones changing, it changes our want to be extroverted or our want to be in community or want to go out of the house and see people and do the things. That hormone of bonding, oxytocin, drops down when estrogen drops down. And so women will, tend to become more introverted and sort of stay in and maybe neglect the community side of them. And I understand, I fully get it. But at the same time, I think it's really important to have one person, two people, a handful of people, something that will keep you connected to community, because it's such an important part of our mental health.
Mm-hmm. It really is. And I want to go back. What do you journal about? Like, I'm always fascinated by people who journal regularly. What's your downloads? I mean, you don't have to, reveal all, but just
so
conceptually.
I have a few sort of keynote phrases that I write. Like, I start my journal out, and that changes over the months. It changes over the years, depending on, it's more like affirmations. That's usually how I'll start out. Then I do gratitude, and then I do download on what am I stressed about? What am I thinking about? What do I need to pull together? What's come to me lately? It's usually not more than a page and a half. I mean, this isn't crazy. I don't do like a book of journal every morning, but it's immensely helpful to my mental health. I will write out even just like getting ready for a trip, like processing through that, processing through lectures, processing through the month ahead. I have a lot of travel this next month, which I wasn't expecting all this travel, to be honest. And just like that's stressing me out more than I thought it would. So processing through things like that, which for a lot of people, they're like, well, that's dumb. Why would you write it down? Just like tell your friend. I'm like, oh, I tell my friend too. I tell my husband. But when it's like quiet me time, some people like to read, and I love to read at night, but some people like their quiet me time in the morning. Whatever they do. Some people are crafty, they needlepoint, or they, do stuff instead. That's their quiet me time for 30, 45 minutes. Some people game. I don't game, that's not my quiet me time. Mine is journaling in the morning with my music and my warm drink. Usually my dog will sit with me, and then that's it. That's 30 minutes in and out.
That's great. And I think it's so important. People say, why do I have to journal? Why can't I just have a conversation with a friend? Because putting the pen to paper, I mean, it's a direct line from your brain to your fingertips and on the paper. And it does use a different part of your brain to process it than just having a conversation. And also, go ahead, Carrie.
I was going to say, I'm an external processor, and sometimes, like, I don't know about your husband, but sometimes my husband's a fixer, so I will tell him, I'll external process to him, and then he's going to tell me what to do. And I'm like, that's not what I needed, which he's very good with, but sometimes he can't help himself. But when I pen to paper on the journal and I'm externally processing to myself, that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, I just realized, oh my gosh, that's right. Oh, which sounds crazy, or I'll flip back to weeks or, months earlier just to see what I was thinking about or what came to me or what I needed to know. It's just been really helpful for me. It works for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really learned about it. I read the book. Have you ever read the book Mind Your Body by Nicole Sachs?
No,
Oh, it's a really good one. And it's about healing from chronic health issues through journaling and putting the pen to paper. And she gives you some journal prompts. But it's worked with some of my clients who just really have very chronic illness, and they've had some trauma. They've never processed it. And it enables you to bring your emotions out on the paper. And the goal is to write for, she calls it journal speak. I think it's 20 minutes, and then crumple up the paper and throw it away and just do the download. And she's like, I have saved myself from having many fights doing this. I write down my thoughts before. Yes. But it is cool, and there are a lot of anecdotes in her book about long COVID, people healing from long COVID, chronic illnesses. For me, I find when I'm really pent up, or like you, like have a very busy schedule coming up, I do like to write things down and make lists and checklists. So I'm not waking up at 3 a.m, writing them down, making lists and checklists. So before bed, I do like to just write like what needs to be done this week, what needs to be done tomorrow, what needs to be done now. And just, it helps me stay organized. So you have a book.
What
were you going to say? You have a book.
I was going to say I'm definitely a checklist person too.
Yes. Can you give us a sneak peek into your book? I can't even wait till it comes out. I can't even wait. I'm so excited.
Yes. It's coming out in the fall of 2026, and it is, I jokingly refer to it as like 17 magazine meets perimenopause. And so it's funny, it's fun, it's flippable. It's not the kind of book where you just like start at the beginning and read all the way through. It has a lot of quizzes and graphs and diagrams and visuals and sections you can just flip to if you need help. And so my co-author, whose name is also Carrie, we wrote it because we had a number of people in our life who were like, I don't need the high level books. I don't need the history of perimenopause. I don't need a 14-day plan. I just want to know the basics. Am I in it? What are the symptoms? Why does it suck? And the some high level things I can do. And I was like, you mean like the quizzes and stuff that we took in 17 magazine and Cosmo back in the day? And she was like, yeah. My friend was like, yeah. And I was like, great, we can totally do that. So that's the style of the book. And we are very, very, very excited for it.
Oh, you're going to have to come back on and talk about it with Carrie and Carrie.
Yes.
We're going to have to talk about it when it's out. Because, I think making it simple, not keeping it too overwhelming where you're just not going to have time to read the whole thing or it will be so complicated. I think doing it in a storytelling way makes it relatable, easy to understand. And then, yes, here are 3 things I can do. I can eat jicama, I can eat broccoli sprouts, and I can journal every night. Those are very needle-moving pieces of healing our bodies. And they're very doable. They don't feel overwhelming. And that's where we want to feel like we're succeeding is that, okay, I know I have things to do. Can I do them every week? Yeah, I actually can. And then you just feel good about yourself and keep building on that. So where can people follow you? You've got your Hello Hormones podcast.
I do.
Where else?
On. You can find me on Instagram. I am at dr.carriejones. My website, drcarriejones.com. I am on YouTube, which is at Dr. Carrie Jones. So I'm all over. My goal, much like you, my goal is just straight hormone education with a side of sass because, like I said, my sense of humor is still quite immature. And I am going through this with everyone. I'm 48, like I said. And it's definitely, it's real, but also been doing it a while. So I want to share what I've learned, what I know, what's working, what's not working, all the things.
All the things. And I'm here to tell you, girl, when you're on the other side, it's awesome. So you'll get there. I'm cheering you on. I'm here for you. And thank you so much for coming on today, Carrie.
Thank you.
If you loved this episode, follow or subscribe to the Midlife Realignment wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube, and leave a review to help other women find this show.